joining BYU Sports Nation for the second time. Mike Aresco, the commissioner of the American Athletic Conference. Mike, great to have you back with us. The Miami Beach Bowl matchup is set, Memphis and BYU. Why did you feel like you wanted the Tigers and Cougars in South Beach?
Well, thanks, Spencer, for having me on, and good morning to you and Brian. We certainly wanted BYU in the bowl because BYU brings a national profile, a tremendous history and prestige, and an excellent team as well, and great people and fans. And Memphis is one of our tri-champions this year, one of our tri-champions, and they wanted to go to Miami Beach and play BYU. As you know, UCF played BYU this year, and although UCF is in Florida, that we didn't want a rematch. So it made a lot of sense to send Memphis down there. This is going to become a premier bowl game. ESPN is televising it on December 22nd and will in future years. It's going to be, I think, close to a sellout, if not a sellout, great weather. So it's really just a nice bowl. And I know some of the writers have already said it's one of the bowls they're looking forward to, one of the really premier bowls this year. They're going to look forward to seeing one of our champions and play BYU.
Mike, what should all BYU fans know about the current state of Memphis football?
Memphis, Justin Fuente did a remarkable rebuilding job. He's only been there a few years. Last year they were 3-9, but you could tell that they were becoming very competitive. They almost beat UCF last year. You all know how good they were. And they had some tough, heartbreaking losses. I know they lost a tough one at Houston. They became and a tough one to Cincinnati. They became a really good team. And he did it the right way. He built a lot of depth there, and he's got a great program. Got great kids. Paxton Lynch is an outstanding quarterback. He's 6'7", and he can throw. He's got a terrific defense, and it's a veteran defense. They'll probably lose some players, on that next year. So what BYU will be facing a really sound team that can run the ball. They've had some injuries, but their backup running backs have done really well. It'll be a good, solid, team they're facing. And obviously BYU righted the ship. They had that tough period in the middle, obviously devastated by injuries. I know in the UCF game, looked like they lost almost their entire defensive backfield, it seemed. I know one of the young fellows had a broken arm. That was a really physical game. UCF's a very physical team. And I know BYU wasn't the same for a little while and then came back strong and won at Cal. So I think BYU it's in great shape right now. It should be a very physical game. I expect it to be very competitive.
The commissioner of the American Athletic Conference, Mike Aresco, with us on BYU Sports Nation. We're talking about the Miami Beach Bowl. Personally, I love the matchup. I talked about this last Friday, Mike, when I said this is a team that maybe don't have the national name brand that a Cincinnati or a UCF does, but certainly they have an argument as being the best team in the American Athletic Conference right now. Correct?
Yeah, Spencer, here's the thing about Memphis. We thought they should, we thought they could easily have been chosen to be on New Year's Day. We felt that we have 4 or 5 teams that can beat any team in the group of 5. I think we have the strongest conference. I really do. I simply believe it. I look at our schedule. We played the absolute toughest non-conference schedule in the country. Memphis went out to UCLA. It was a tie game with 4 minutes left. They lost by 7 points. Anyone who saw the game knows how tough and hard fought it was. They went to Ole Miss. They didn't play Ole Miss on a neutral field. They went to Oxford, 7-3, mid-fourth quarter. A few things went wrong, interception, and then there were some points at the end that didn't need to be scored, to be honest with you. But the point is, it was a 7-3 game, very competitive against one of the premier teams in the country. Memphis is a very sound team. They went up to Cincinnati and won 41-14. They lost a heartbreaker to Houston. They had a 14-3 lead, and they lost 28-24.
Yeah, 5 turnovers in that game.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah, no, go ahead. Houston's been a little inconsistent this year, but the point is Memphis has had a terrific season. And, they have a certain pedigree. Memphis has been around a long time. They've played good football over the years, haven't gotten the attention. The program had fallen into some disrepair, but obviously Justin's done a terrific job bringing it back.
Mike, I was really intrigued with the matchup of BYU and Cincinnati in Miami. Why not Cincinnati against BYU and putting Memphis over them?
Well, Memphis had the edge. Memphis was one of our tri-champions, and they also defeated Cincinnati, pretty convincingly. So, and Memphis wanted to go to South, obviously South Beach, Miami Beach, for the Miami Beach Bowl. And we felt that they really had first dibs on it. And Cincinnati was very happy going to the Military Bowl. That was one of their preferences, either there or possibly Birmingham. We were able to match up Cincinnati with Virginia Tech. That's a terrific matchup. Virginia Tech has Whit Babcock as their AD, and he was the Cincinnati AD until recently. So that's an interesting sidelight. But no, we felt that Memphis should have first dibs on that. I think they were viewed because of their win over Cincinnati. They didn't play UCF, and UCF also had a very good schedule and a good season and played very tough non-conference games as well. But UCF wasn't going to go to Miami because, as I mentioned, they've already played BYU, so the logical pick there was Memphis. And again, Memphis got the attention of the selection committee. I think we were very close. I think if Boise had slipped up in its championship game, Memphis might well have been the team. Or UCF, I don't know. Probably it would have been tougher for Cincinnati because, again, Memphis had defeated them pretty convincingly. Now the thing too is, you look at a team like Memphis, and they play an exciting brand of football. They throw the ball, they run the ball, they play really good defense, and they're very excited about this. Their fans are excited. I think you'll see a great crowd. BYU, we know, will bring a lot of people, and we know that there's a big BYU contingent in Florida as well. So I think overall it'll be a really good matchup.
AAC Commissioner Mike Aresco with us on BYU Sports Nation. You're obviously very tied into what happens at the major Division I college football level, and with yesterday's ripple effect from the college football playoff and the Big 12 getting the snub at the college football playoff, what do you think will happen over the next few months? And I believe you're at the athletic director meetings in New York as well. So, you're right in the heart of it. What do you think the ripple effect will be?
Well, certainly there'll be a lot of conversation, guys, about what the Big 12 might do next. I think the Big 12 will clearly be the focus, having had two really good teams not quite make it. So there'll be a lot of talk about realignment again. There'll be a lot of talk about expansion. There'll be a lot of talk about possibly a Big 12 championship game. I think everybody has to just step back and say, look, the Big 12 will be deliberative. They will not do anything out of any kind of panic at all. I think they'll look at the possibility of playing a championship game, which they frankly did not want to do and may still not want to do. But if they decide to, they can do it with 10 teams if they can get a waiver from the NCAA, or if they can have legislation pass. And in this era of deregulation and autonomy, I'm not sure that wouldn't be possible. And we've always supported that. We've felt that conferences can determine now their own championship format. Or they may decide not to play a championship game and remain at 10 teams and strengthen their non-conference schedules. That seemed to be a signal from the committee. You've got to play better non-conference schedules. They play a 9-game, as you know, round-robin conference schedule. So you got to argue that one of those games should count as a pretty decent non-conference game. As you know, some of the non-conference teams that people schedule are not that strong. So I think they should get the benefit of that doubt. In the meantime, I think that there's going to be a lot of talk, and I know the blogosphere, and I know, Twitter and everything will be rife with rumors constantly, and we're not going to speculate on any of them, but I do think that they'll look at it and say, this is what the committee told us by doing what they did, and we've probably got to adapt in some way, but I don't think it's far from certain what they'll do. This notion they're just going to expand and have 12 teams in a championship game with divisions, to me is way premature.
Now, if we're being realistic and fair to the situation, your conference, as you've mentioned, is a great non-P5 conference, a G5. But they're certainly on the radar for the Big 12 with teams like Cincinnati, UCF, and Memphis. What is it like for you knowing that some of your teams might be targeted by the Big 12 because you have great teams in your conference?
Well, we do, and I've been through this before. I'm not, new to this. I had to go through it, and it's never easy. And we obviously took some teams from other conferences. We're basically taking the position that whatever happens down the road happens. We're not going to worry about it. We want to build this conference. We've got contingency plans. We always do. You have to. That's part of leadership to make sure you can deal with things as they occur. But I think our feeling is we've got a good, strong, stable group. I don't know what other conferences will do right now. Obviously, the Big Five, we try not to call them the Power Five. I know the media still does, and we always felt that denigrated us because our guys are very powerful when you win the Fiesta Bowl and you win national championships. But point is, we have to deal with this, and we know that they are attractive to teams, but we're not going to worry about it. And I know the rumors are going to be flying, of course, the next 5 or 6, 7 months, whatever. And our position will be, I'm not going to speculate about it. But again, we feel that we've got very attractive teams, as you mentioned. We really do. And we're building this. This is a work in progress. We're not even remotely there yet where we want to be. But you can look at our league, and you can look at the non-conference schedule we played. And by far, it was the toughest of any conference in the country, bar none. And, for instance, SMU, they took some shots because obviously they weren't a very good team, but they certainly could have won 3 or 4 games if they played in another conference in our group. And they also played a non-conference schedule at Baylor, TCU, A&M at home, and then went to North Texas after that. There are very few. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're, Ohio State or Baylor or Florida State. Pretty tough surviving that stretch.
Oh, yeah.
And, a lot of our guys did that. If you look at our non-conference schedule, Cincinnati went to Ohio State, went to Miami, Memphis, as I mentioned, at UCLA, at Ole Miss. We probably, to some extent, hurt our chances a bit to be on New Year's Day, but we did it with the larger goal in mind, the larger vision, and that is to strengthen our conference, to do what the committee asked us to do. Unfortunately, you can't lose 3 games in this new scenario. If we'd had 2 lost teams, I think we'd have been right there, and we might well have prevailed. But we had 3 losses, and teams just didn't have much margin for error once they got into conference play. That's something that, obviously is going to be a factor down the road. But I'm fully confident that this group will continue to get better, and we'll have, a very competitive conference.
Mike, I hope they give you a nice Christmas bonus for handling the stress of all of this, first of all. And we look forward to seeing you. We look forward to seeing you in Miami Beach. I know Tom Hommel, BYU's athletic director, appreciates the relationship he has with the American Athletic Conference, and we're looking forward to a great time down there in Florida. And let's definitely get together, talk things over. You can tell us the Miami hotspots, and we'll go from there.
Well, thanks, guys. Thanks for the kind words, and I can't say enough good things about Tom Hommel and Kevin Worthen, President Worthen. The BYU people are great. I have a great fondness too for the institution because for 30 years I've been in college athletics and was in TV, and in all my years at ESPN, I came out to BYU from time to time for Thursday games and other games, and I was just treated, unbelievably well. People were warm and friendly, and I have a lot of good feelings about that. And I think BYU is a great program, and I've defended it when people said it wasn't one of the Power Fives, and that it's silly. I bet BYU is one of the great programs with great tradition, national champions, Heisman's, the whole thing. And so consequently, we're thrilled to have them in Miami Beach, and I'll look forward to seeing you gentlemen down there, Spencer and Brian. Really, thanks for having me.